It's really quite striking that as Jesus goes to this dinner, we hear that everybody is watching him. And we see this theme throughout the gospel, that people are waiting for Jesus to make just one simple mistake, to point out something, a chink in the armor in which they can criticize him. And it is part of Jesus' own criticism of people who easily look for ways to judge others that is an important part of this story here. We see so often Jesus saying, "Do not judge others." And that is because others, when we judge them, are harmed. But there's something else at play here in the gospel, and that is the harm that it does to the person who judges. It can be an addiction that damages, that's toxic to the individual who judges. And what is it that how is it that it harms the person judging? It leaves them unaware of their situation because they have convinced themselves that they can hold power over another person by telling them what to do or by judging them. And they lose an awareness of who they are. That can damage each one of us. As we hear in the story where a man would come to a banquet and take the highest place, only to be told later that he should give up his seat for someone else. Whenever we begin to lose self-awareness of who we are and our faults, our mistakes, our weaknesses, we begin to do things that all of a sudden are not in line with who we are. That is the damage that can be done by a person who judges. And the antidote to that is to have a reflective life, to have a life in which we cultivate a self-awareness, and that comes in our Catholic tradition through what we call an examination of conscience. It's something we should do not just when we prepare for the sacrament of reconciliation, to go to confession, but each and every day as we end the day, to think back of how our day has gone, to examine what is it that we were able to do by God's grace for others, but also areas of needed growth, areas in which we're in touch with the reality of our own weaknesses, our need for conversion, our need for reform. It's not about the self-criticism that humiliates us, but rather it's the reflection that brings us in a humble self-awareness of who we are. That's the best antidote to a toxic judgmentalism that we have of others, because when in fact we're examining ourselves and we're aware of the reality of who we are, we're going to be less apt to think that we can judge others or hold power over them. So as we hear this gospel today, let us see it as an opportunity to have the real humility that brings us to a self-awareness, a healthy self-awareness of who we are. And in that way, find that whenever we're tempted to judge others, to tell others that they have to live by the standards that we have defined, that we have power over them, we will see that temptation really losing its grip on us, because we will have a healthy dose of reality in our own lives, of the areas that we need to improve, the areas that God's grace needs to come into our life so that we really can live according to the call of the gospel. Yes, judging others can be an addiction that's toxic. Toxic because it can harm us, where we lose a sense of self-awareness. The best antidote is a daily, frequent self-examination of conscience.